Good afternoon, councillors. It's gone 4 o'clock, so we are ready to start our ordinary council meeting for the Armidale Regional Council on Wednesday, the 12th of January. Welcome to councillors, members of the public, and the staff that are with us today too. I'll ask everybody to stand for this civic affirmation to be read by Councillor-elect O'Brien.
Impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in us to the best of our skill and judgment.
Sweet. Got a couple of things here. So on behalf of my countrymen and countrywomen, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which council meets and works. May we be guided by the spirits of the ancestors to treat the land, the people who dwell on it, and each other with respect. And just quickly, I've put some notes on what I think council is about, and that's respect, vision, leadership, community, and the land. And I'm just going to do a quick blessing in language, just for those things and for us as well as we go on our journey over the next 2 and a bit years. And it's ana gurugutu a takarapranga, ana mehe tiko o ana gete a kopukurungu I mana garete e te kraha ana maki I kukupurui. Ge mo onoguru tanarangarete ke mehete e ni anguru kuku a baka a ana gete e te kurungu onoguru bata jangara te ke mo onoguru kuku tukireke maha e ke hongu o kurungi tike ma ana garete. Thank you.
Just a statement in relation to live streaming of council meetings and webcasting. This meeting is being audio and video recorded, and the recordings of the non-confidential parts of the meeting will be made available on the internet. No other persons are permitted to record the meeting unless specifically authorised by council to do so. And just a quick reminder to people in the chamber, if you could please either turn off your mobile phones or set them to silent. Thank you very much. Item number 3, apologies and applications for leave of absence. We have a full councillor quota, so no apologies there. Any disclosures of interest from councillors around the table? No disclosures of interest, thank you very much. I'll defer item 5.1 for our newly elected mayor to deal with. And there's no mayoral minutes and no notices of motion. So we move on to item 8.1 on the agenda, the oath and affirmation of the office by councillors. Councillors, what I will do is just move around the room from left around to right. And if you could just stand when you're delivering your oath or affirmation, please, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
I'm taking an affirmation. Craig Witters solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest of the people of the Armidale region and the Armidale Regional Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Witters, and congratulations on your election to council. Councillor McMichael.
I, Susan McMichael, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interest of the people of the Armidale region and the Armidale Regional Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor McMichael. Again, congratulations and welcome. Councillor Packham.
My affirmation. I, Paul Dennis Packham, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of the Armidale region and the Armidale Regional Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Packham. Congratulations and welcome. Councillor Robinson.
I, Dorothy Robinson, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of the Armidale region and the Armidale Regional Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Welcome and congratulations. Councillor Copeland.
I, Sam Copeland, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of the Armidale region and the Armidale Regional Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor Copeland. Congratulations and welcome. Councillor O'Brien.
I, Deborah O'Brien, solemnly and sincerely declare and affirm that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of the Armidale region and the Armidale Regional Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Welcome and congratulations. Councillor Galletley.
I, John Galletley, swear that I will undertake the duties of Office of Councillor in the best interests of the people of that Armidale region and the Armidale Regional Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Galletley. Congratulations and welcome. Councillor Gaddis.
I, Paul Gaddis, swear that I will undertake the duties of the office of councillor in the best interests of the people of Armidale region and the Armidale Regional Council, and that I will faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in me under the Local Government Act 1993 or any other act to the best of my ability and judgment.
item, oh, there we go. Beautiful, we're back. Back on to item 8.2 on the business paper, page 8, the election of mayor and deputy mayor. We have a recommendation of, as part of that report, in terms of the ballot and how that will be conducted, and the length, and again just noting that that the period from the 12th of January today through to September 2023. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that particular motion? Councillor Robinson?
I'd like to move the motion, but also maybe have a little, add an extra clause that candidates are invited to address the meeting for up to 5 minutes and answer questions on why they are the best candidate to serve our region. Is it? Yeah. Well, fine, so that's already been done. But I also wanted to test the water and whether we should have a secret ballot or not. Just, can I ask your indulgence and maybe having a show of hands as to who would like a secret ballot and who would like an open ballot?
An open ballot to see who wants a secret ballot. What I suggest is that you've moved. Are you comfortable with moving of that motion that's up there? I think that we'll have that as, that can be part of the debate. I think you've moved. You're moving open to get it on the floor.
I'll move it. I can also do an amendment. Yes, Lord, thanks.
So do we have a seconder to the motion as it's written up there? That is the first item being open ballot. Councillor Copeland. Councillor Robinson, your motion.
Well, is it possible first for me to just suggest an amendment, and then we'll find out if it's there or not, just an amendment that it is by a secret ballot? So if I move that amendment, and do I have a seconder for that? And yeah, Councillor O'Brien.
I'll just allow me to chair if you don't mind. I think what we have up there is a motion that's been moved and seconded. What I would first ask is the seconder, if the seconder agrees with what you're putting forward. Alternatively, Councillor, you could move the motion as it's written, but open a closed ballot as opposed to open ballot. But it's a bit unusual to move it and then move an amendment straight away.
Well, if you prefer to do it that way, then I will just leave it as it is. But then I still want to have an amendment, or maybe Councillor O'Brien can move the amendment. Thank you. Yeah. No. Oh, well, in that case, it's probably quicker, since we're going to get into a big debate, if we just, I'll move it with a closed ballot. Or a standing ballot, as the wording is.
You have to undo it, unmove it, and then
Yeah.
amend it.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was trying to do. Move the amendment once the seconder had done it. Let's just leave it this way. I'll move an amendment after we've had it seconded.
So we have a motion.
Yeah. We have a motion that's been moved. Yeah.
You've spoken for the motion.
Yep.
I'm assuming. We've got a speaker against the motion.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Mr. General Manager, but it's not clear to me whether what's happening in relation to the mover's quite clear intention or wish to move an amendment that the words open ballot be replaced by closed ballot. So, I mean, I'm happy to move it if that moves things along as an amendment. But then it would, I think, be a matter of whether the mover and the seconder of the original motion are happy with that amendment.
That's not what I heard. What I heard was that Councillor Robinson is moving what is on the screen. Is that correct, Councillor Robinson?
Yeah, well, either way is fine with me. We move what's on the screen and then we have an amendment, or we change it now. But it's probably quicker just to move it as it is, and then we'll have an amendment.
I've got to say, Councillor Robinson, I mean, this has been out in the council papers now for the best part of a week, and for this to be is a little bit unfair on me, who's not an experienced chair, but nonetheless, we will move on. So have we got a motion up there or not? You've spoken to the motion, your motion, you're agreeing that that's the motion. Have we got any speakers against the motion as it's written up there? That is open ballot and then the three next items. No speakers against? Right of reply, Councillor Robinson.
Move an amendment. Even if I don't speak against it, can't I? That's the way we normally do it.
There was no speakers against. We've closed debate, so your right of reply, Councillor.
Mr. General Manager, Chair, I did offer to move an amendment to try and effect what I believe is the mover's intention, which is to put the motion not as it is written up there, but resolve part that Council A resolve, thank you, that the ballot be by closed ballot. I'm happy to move that if that assists with getting a full and frank discussion on that issue. If we go in the direction that I think we are moving at the moment, that's going to be cut off at the pass. So I move an amendment, but I'm looking for a seconder. Or,
Can I just clarify, in terms of meeting procedure, okay, it needs to be carried, okay, and Dorothy had a chance to speak against it, okay, she could speak against it, okay? If she wants to speak against it, please speak against it.
So I'm going to move forward on the basis that I asked for speakers against. I didn't get any. Close the debate. I'll right of reply, and then I'm putting it to the vote.
Yeah.
yes, point of order, but I have actually moved an amendment.
I seconded Councillor.
I don't think that there was no amendment on the table.
With all due respect, Councillor O'Connor did, after the mover and seconder spoke, try to move an amendment in regards to that. So I know the process is a bit lost here, but I think we got stuck at Councillor O'Connor's attempts to move an amendment to change what is written there. I'm certain the audio and the visual back that.
I was just going to say, in terms of meeting procedure, the movers of the motion need to agree to the motion being amended.
Strictly speaking, they can agree. They don't have to, but they can, and they should be invited on that subject, as far as I understand the Code of Meeting Practice.
All right. In the interest of moving forward, Councillor, your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. My amendment is simply that the word in paragraph A, open, be replaced by the word closed.
Do we have a seconder for that? Your speaker for? Your amendment?
Yep. Yes. Now that we've got the process done, one of the words that will get thrown around here over the next 2.5 years is transparency, and I think we need to start off this council in the right way and in the right spirit and be transparent in our actions from the very first go and have it as an open vote, as some people, no, I'll leave it at that, that'll do me.
Yes. Are you against?
Sorry, Speaker, for the amendment.
Yeah. For the sake of debate, and I don't particularly care either way, the transparency aspect of it really is the transparency of process. It's to ensure that the process is transparent, that it's fair, that it's done in the proper procedure. It's not about whether the who votes for who. That's the bedrock of democracy, a secret ballot. People may feel pressured, I don't mean in this room, but generally the reason for secret ballots is people can feel pressured to vote in a particular way if they have to, if they feel there's public pressure or anything. So that's for the point of debate. I'm actually not wedded either way, but I'd say for those who are concerned about the transparency is not about who you vote for, the transparency is about the process. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Speaker against the amendment?
I'm actually fairly sad to see that this has started this way. But anyway, I go with the first recommendation that we have an open ballot to start things off how it should be. And I am bloody embarrassed that this is going on this way right from the beginning. It just is so wrong. Thank you.
Any further speakers for the amendment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think that since we're all fairly new here, I think it would be more harmonious if we had a secret ballot in this particular case, until we actually get to know each other and get to know each other's views. Otherwise, we might get accused of divisions and disharmony, and that's something that everybody in this council wants to avoid. So that, I think, is really the motivation for having a secret ballot or a standard ballot in this case.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further speakers against the amendment? If not, that closes the debate. I'll put the amendment, all those in favour of the amendment, that is a closed ballot or secret ballot, raise your hands, please. Councillor Packham, Councillor Robinson, Councillor O'Brien, Councillor O'Connor, that's 4. Those against the amendment? Councillor Witters, Councillor McMichael, Councillor Copeland, Councillor Gallatley, Councillor Gadders, Councillor Redwood, Councillor Meppen. I declare the amendment lost 7 votes to 4, or 4 votes to 7. The original motion is now on the table. Any further discussion or debate on the original motion? If not, right of reply, Councillor Robinson.
I think this is a very good outcome, so thank you. Let's have a vote on it and let's continue the proceedings.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. I'll put the motion, the original motion, as written up on the screen. Show of hands for all those in favour. Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. As returning officer, I now invite nominations for the position of Mayor for the period through to September 2023. In accordance with the Local Government General Regulation 2005, 2 or more councillors may nominate a councillor, one of whom may be the nominee for the position of Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Nominations must be in writing and the nominee must consent to their nomination in writing. Prior to the meeting today, I've received 2 nominations for the position of Mayor, one being Councillor Copeland, the second being Councillor O'Brien. Are there any further nominations before we put it to the vote? No, thank you. Okay. Thank you, councillors. So we have two nominees for the position of Mayor, as I mentioned, Councillor Copeland and Councillor O'Brien. I'm going to essentially call them in the order that I received them. Councillor Copeland, over to you for your 3-minute presentation to the council.
Thank you. As I understand it, it was 5 minutes, but I'll do my level best. The reason I nominated for mayor has the same genesis as to why I ran for council. The region being stagnant for the past 2 decades, and from what we understand, certainly from our induction, the somewhat dire financial situation and asset management situation, which I now understand and acknowledge there are some well thought out plans to get that back on track. The skill set that I would bring to the table as mayor is probably somewhat unique. I'm financially literate and financially savvy. I'm an accountant by training, having worked at one of the world's largest accounting and consulting firms, EY. For the past 22 years, I've been a consultant and owner of FMRC, which originated here in Armidale and stood for Financial Management Research Centre out of the UNE. And in that role, I work with businesses, predominantly law firms, to grow and develop their operations. But I'm not just a numbers guy. I build things. I have the smarts and tenacity to create opportunities where others either don't see the opportunity or the opportunity seems too difficult. I did this 6 years ago when I created from scratch a large-scale cattle operation in North Queensland. But probably the most important trait that I see and the cornerstone of my success in business is my ability to work with and bring out the best in those around me. And this is what we need. So the community voted all 11 of us in on the qualities and skills and experiences that they expect will inform the decisions we make as councillors. And our success as a region is not going to become about because one side wins or one side loses. It will only occur if we work together and harness the talents of everyone around the table. So to that end, and I did this alphabetically, Councillor Gadders, your experience heading up major technology businesses is unparalleled. But what most people fail to consider is that to land those roles, you must have a highly developed strategic brain and problem-solving ability, not to mention the business side of things. Councillor Gallatley, no one in this chamber would have a better sense of the pulse of such a wide section of the community as you do. You are engaged and engaging and have a very strong sense of what is the right thing to do. I have no doubt you could smell a rat from 50 paces, and more importantly, will call it out. Councillor McMichael, your career speaks volumes as to your commitment to a section of the community which often walks a more difficult path than most. I would fully expect you to advocate for them and guide the rest of us when needed. Councillor Mepham, you have been a tireless contributor to your community, and in turn your community have fully backed you because of that commitment. But also they see in you a tenacity and sense that you will always make decisions in the best interests of the region. Councillor O'Brien, you are an engaging face of council. Your commitment to the region can never be doubted, and you are someone who advocates strongly for what you believe is right. I acknowledge you and the returning councillors have had a tough time in the previous term, and I know that whilst you are around this table, we'll never slide back that way again. Councillor O'Connor, as our longest serving councillor and having trodden the same path as the other returning councillors in the last term, your experience is invaluable. I know that you will hold us all to account and prosecute the issues with aplomb. Councillor Packham, I doubt anyone here has had such a diverse career, which has clearly equipped you well. Your tenacity, combined with what is clearly well-honed strategic problem-solving ability, is something that will be relied on heavily. Councillor Redwood, you bring a unique mix of dogged determination, combined with an ease of interacting with and guiding those around you. You don't let anyone off the hook, long may it continue. Councillor Robinson, no one will ever pull the wool over your eyes. You are clearly diligent and a deep thinker. This, combined with your undoubted passion, makes you a force to be reckoned with, but more importantly, a fantastic advocate. And Councillor Witters, in all of my interactions with you, you are constantly looking at what can be improved. You have the ability to view the region through the lens of different sections of the community, which means no one gets overlooked. So, to circle back as to why I seek your support in running for mayor, you can be informed by my past, but I really want you to know that any success that I've had there has been about harnessing the talents of those around me, having difficult conversations where necessary, even when directed at me, and always being honest in my interactions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Copeland. Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, and hello, fellow councillors. Having experience of being a councillor does not entitle you to be a mayor. Let's just say that straight off. But what it does do is does provide some track record, some evidence of how you might be. When you have that, you don't have to resort to ever saying what you would do. You don't have to say, you know, I promise if the management of council is in trouble, I would do my duty and I would take action. I would risk public censure from those who don't know the situation and attacks by those defending a downward spiralling institution. I would be taken to court. I don't have to say I would be taken to court to defend the community. I would not be silenced by threats and I would not back down once I saw staff leaving in droves. And I would not have to say that when my councillor comrades have been through the mill and are devastated by their experiences, I would not have to say I would check on them regularly and tell them not to give up because we fought so hard and the worst is over. I would not have to say I would do any of those things because I did those things. A mayor must have integrity, must have courage, must have the ability to bring people together, but also must believe in democracy, believe in debate, believe that there'll be people who come here who'll have all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of beliefs, and they all should be heard. And if the outcome is evidence of the rightness of your actions, I ask you to behold the outcome, Mr. Ronkin, and the professional team in front of us, and all the ex-staff who are coming back. That is the outcome. Most of you have already shaken Councillor Copeland's hand, and I greatly respect Councillor Copeland, and promised their support. But Mr. Copeland seems like a reasonable man and would know that a good councillor, when provided with solid evidence and a persuasive argument, might change their minds. And I'm sure Councillor Copeland would respect that. So I have not asked you for your support before today as a mayor because I really wanted to ask for your support in front of the community. If you vote for me for mayor and put your trust in someone who's already shown they have what it takes, I won't let you down. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillors, we're now ready to move into the vote, and I know it goes without saying, but each councillor's entitled to vote for only one candidate as part of this process. So, would those councillors voting for Councillor Copeland please raise their hand? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 votes. 8 votes for Councillor Copeland. For those councillors voting for Councillor O'Brien, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 3 votes. On that basis, I duly declare Councillor Sam Copeland elected as Mayor for Armidale Regional Council through to September 23. Congratulations, Councillor Copeland. We now move on to the position of Deputy Mayor. Again, same format. As Returning Officer, I now invite nominations for the position of Deputy Mayor for the period through to September 2023. In accordance with the Local Government General Regulation 2005, 2 or more councillors may nominate a councillor, one of whom may be the nominee for the position of a Deputy Mayor. Nominations must be in writing and the nominee must consent to their nomination in writing. Prior to this meeting, I have received 2 nominations, I should say, for the position of Deputy Mayor, Councillor Todd Redwood and Councillor Deborah O'Brien. Do we have any final nominations from the floor? No? Thank you, councillors. Okay, well, we have 2 nominations, as we did with the Mayor, open to each nominee to present for up to 5 minutes. I would do the ballot in terms of the order in which they were received and commence with Councillor Todd Redwood.
Thank you, Mr. Roncon. So for me, the position of Deputy Mayor is a very important one for this council. It's not important for me to be the Deputy Mayor. That's not what I've aspired to be. But when I spoke to Sam and he said that he was intending to stand for Mayor, I said that I would stand for Deputy to be a supporter of the Mayor. I believe that the position of Deputy Mayor, whilst it is a deputy, and I know that it doesn't get called on very often, but it's an important one to be a sounding board for the Mayor, to be a conscience at times, perhaps. I believe for me, I present a very balanced person. I have very broad experience throughout the world, dealing with people from all walks of life, and have the ability to be able to deal with those people and to be able to communicate and support those people through what they need to do. So for me, I believe that I'm someone who can present a seamless deputy to the Mayor in that position, and I'd be very honoured to take that position.
Thank you, Councillor Redwood. Councillor O'Brien.
I didn't really prepare for this one that much, but but I have been Deputy Mayor before, and I guess I'm asking councillors to think about showing the community that we are an inclusive council, and that some of the leadership could include previous councillors who have done a lot of hard work to get us back on track, and would hope not to be at all sidelined, which I'm sure that's not your intention at all. It would be a good look to the community that we did have a bit of mix of new and old, and it shows that you're willing to compromise and that unity is more important than, I suppose, personal ambition, for whatever that means. And so that I ask you to think about what message we might give to the community about who we include in leadership positions in terms of the mix of new and old councillors, and in terms of various other inclusive factors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. That concludes the presentations. As we know, it's been resolved that the method of voting for the position of Deputy Mayor will be by the show of hands. And as I mentioned earlier, each councillor is entitled to vote for only one candidate in each round of voting. So can I please ask for a show of hands for Councillor Redwood as Deputy Mayor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. A show of hands for councillors voting for Councillor O'Brien. 1, 2, 3. I declare Councillor Redwood elected Deputy Mayor by 8 votes to 3. Congratulations, Councillor Redwood. Councillors, thank you very much. We got there in the end, and it's with an absolute great pleasure that I hand the chair over to our new Mayor, Councillor Copeland.
Just a quick indulgence, if I may, before we bat on with the rest of the meeting. Firstly, thank you all for affording me the honour of serving our region as Mayor. I genuinely believe we have a fantastic mix of skills and experiences on this council, and I'm excited by the opportunity to harness that talent for the betterment of the region. The eyes of the community are rightly on us, but my sense is their gaze is one of expectation in what we will be able to achieve in this term. So let's exceed that expectation, let's do what is needed, and let's work well together to make our region prosperous. It's going to be a great term. Thank you. The first item on our agenda is to circle back to item 5.1, which was the confirmation of the minutes from the ordinary council meeting held on the 24th of November 2021. Do I have a proposer for that? Councillor Robinson, thank you. And a seconder, Councillor O'Brien, thank you. Would Councillor Robinson, would you like to speak to that, or? Thank you. We'll put it to a vote. All those in favour of what is up on the screen? We have 1, 2, 3. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a delegation of authority to the General Manager. We've been provided with a lot of information around that. Many of us have sought additional information. Can I ask for a proposer for this motion? Councillor Galletley, and a seconder, Councillor McMichael. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Councillor Robinson.
And my question is basically, when we had the previous delegation, which was submitted to us not long ago, it was talking about the $250,000 limit, which was for tenders being limited to contract value when all of the requirements of the Local Government Act 1993 and Local Government General Regulations are met. And I'm just wondering if this is going to be accommodated in the new delegation, or that's just been abandoned, because it says the alternative version says basically the acceptance of tenders to provide services currently provided by members of staff to the council. So maybe I could have a bit of an explanation about that, or more information, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Thank you, Councillor Robinson. I'll just have to confer with the General Manager, if I may.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Robinson, both those documents essentially say the same thing, but ultimately what we're talking about is that my delegations are as per the legislation. The legislation firmly says that my discretional limit's up to the 250, and we've got a procurement policy council adopted, I think, back in September, August, September, which again highlights that as well. So nothing's changed in terms of the delegations from the previous term of council through to this term of council.
Would anyone else like to speak to the motion put up here? Councillor Robinson, are you satisfied with that response? All right, I'll now put the motion to a vote. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 8.4, the delegation of authority to the Mayor. Do I have a proposer for that? Thank you, Councillor Robinson. A seconder? Thank you, Councillor Gaddis. Would either the proposer, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you.
I'll open it up. Anyone else like to speak? Okay, let's put that motion to a vote, please. All those in favour? All 11, carried unanimously. Thank you. The next item is 8.5, and it refers to the casual vacancy in the office of councillor. Proposer for that, thank you, Councillor Robinson. Seconder, thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Either of you like to speak? Councillor Robinson, would you like to speak to that?
Just to say simply that this is a way of saving council money, and I approve of anything that saves money and saves time and convenience. So I think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Councillor O'Connor?
Yes, I don't necessarily approve of anything that saves money and time. However, in this case, I do agree with Councillor Robinson that this is a recommendation that should be vigorously and happily adopted, because it's a amendment to the Local Government Act, which we've been long awaiting. It just does avoid the expense and difficulty of by-elections. And given that the term that we're facing is unnaturally, if you like, shortened, it makes even more sense. So I do commend to my fellow new councillors and old ones that we would support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor O'Connor. Let's put that to a vote. All those in favour? 11 carried unanimously. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the Armidale Regional Council Code of Conduct, which has been tweaked. Proposed Councillor Witters, seconded Councillor Robinson. Councillor Witters, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just quickly, that the code of conduct goes along with the affirmation or oath that we took earlier, and that I'm sure that we've all read it and we'll all stick with it.
Thank you, Councillor Witters. Councillor Robinson? No. Let's put this to a vote. That the revised code of revised Armidale Regional Council Code of Conduct be adopted. All those in favour? Thank you. That's 11, carried unanimously. The next item is 8.7, the revised Code of Meeting Practice. There is a bit in there, and there are some decisions to be made. Councillor Robinson, would you like to...
I'd like to move the motion with a tiny change, which I want to move the motion, first of all, with clause 15.15, and also subject to changing 4.03 to allow speakers in the public forum, that's residents who wish to address council on items of business, to be allotted 5 minutes to present their arguments.
So you're proposing an amendment?
I'm actually moving it with an amendment in this case. So I'm moving a slightly different motion, which is basically that we adopt 15.15, and we actually just change 4.13 to allow speakers in the public forum 5 minutes rather than 3 minutes. So you can actually move a motion with a slightly different thing.
I realise that, Councillor Robinson. I wonder if we aren't best doing this in two parts.
Yeah, well, we can do. Yeah.
Let's do that in two parts. So if we could, you're proposing the amendment, but if I could suggest that we just decide to adopt, or what you're proposing is item 15.15, which relates to the chair having the power to expel people from the meeting, but in 15.14, the chair can make that decision unanimously. In 15.15, the chair requires a vote of the council, or whatever meeting is being held.
Yeah. So do you want to vote on those B and C separately?
Yes, please,
yeah.
Councillor Robinson.
You're the chair.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder just to that first amendment, which is to adopt 15.15 over 15.14. Thank you, Councillor McMichael. Councillor Robinson, would you like to speak to that amendment?
Well, I think it's a very sensible amendment, and it shows that our council will be working together and we agree to take majority consensus on opinions like this. So I think it's a good idea.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Would any councillors like to speak against that change? Councillor Witters.
Yes, but not in a bad way. Just the fact that it's got to go out for public submission first, and then when it comes back from memory, that's when we get to decide what goes in and out of the Code of Meeting Practice at a council meeting then. I'm just wondering whether we've taken an opportunity away from some of our community citizens to maybe put in an amendment such as this one, or another one along the same lines while it's out on public submission. That's all.
Councillor Witters, will I take that as a statement?
No, as an against this, against the amendment,
okay,
to allow the community to put their thoughts into it first before we amend anything.
Thank you. So we need to vote on the amendment, the first amendment there, being the one that Councillor Robinson moved, Councillor McMichael seconded. Sorry, does anyone want to speak for or against? No. We now need to vote on that amendment. Can I see all those in favour of adopting 15.15? over 15.14? Could I see a show of hands, please? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And those against? 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is carried. 7 votes to 4. Councillor Robinson, would you like to consider? Do you have a further amendment to make?
Well, we still have, yeah, well, the amendment was 4.13 from 3 minutes to 5 minutes. So, and that was basically, it's been moved and seconded, so all we're doing is debating it and then we vote on it. And the reason I think we should allow the public 5 minutes to speak is because it's very, very difficult in a have your safe statement, in a presentation, to actually produce a coherent argument in maybe in 3 minutes, even if you have a couple of minutes of questions afterwards. Certainly, I mean, I've only ever done this twice when I've not been a councillor, and it's very, very hard to get it in I've managed to do it in 4.5 to 5 minutes, but trying to put a complex argument to 3 minutes is very, very difficult. So I think we have to be in favour of accountability and transparency and listen to the public. That is what we're here for. And most people probably only have the say in council maybe once every year, once every 2 years, maybe only once in a lifetime. So let's at least afford them 5 minutes if they're coming here to give a speech and let us know what they think. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Robinson. Would anyone like to speak against this? Councillor Gillespie.
These are members from the public that come in, and I think they have a bit of difficulty sometimes in getting the stuff across. I believe they can't get across in 3 minutes. They haven't done their work very well. I don't know, as Councillor Robinson said, they're not arguing, they're just putting a point. There's two sides to everything, they're just putting a point across. It's not an argument, it's putting their stuff there, which in most cases we've already seen and heard before through other means. If you're actually in contact with the community, you know the issues that they're bringing up. So I think 3 minutes is plenty of time. I have trouble speaking for 3 minutes, and I reckon I'm not too bad on the talking. But anyway, 5 minutes not needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gillespie. Anyone else to speak for?
Yes,
Councillor O'Connor.
I have mine first.
Oh, sorry, Councillor O'Brien.
I think we should always default on the position more of being generous about our input from the community. We don't want to be a totally top-down type of institution where all the good ideas come from the top. We've got to make sure that we have plenty of input from the community. 3 minutes when probably you're not a professional speaker, and when you might, as you said, might be once in a lifetime, it might be a passion of yours and you have a lot to teach us. I wouldn't like to see them cut off. I've seen people really struggle with the 5 minutes because they're not used to, professional speaking. I think let's be generous for our input from the community and let them speak for 5 minutes. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Would anyone else like to speak against?
I'll speak.
Councillor Witters.
I'm against it based on my previous statements. You can cut and paste them, but also, again, I think do not disagree with the sentiments of both these amendments. I just think that, of the timing. We need to let the community come up with their own ideas. Doing it now seems like a leading statement that we're sort of giving them ideas where we need to get their ideas from them, and we can put both these amendments in when we make the final decision on adopting the actual code of meter practice, either in February or whenever it comes up. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Witters. And for Councillor O'Connor.
Yes, I'd like to speak in favour of allowing have your says to go for a full 5 minutes. I know it can be tedious for some people to listen to 5 minutes of talking. I do understand that, but for all the reasons that have been set forward, particularly by Councillor O'Brien, I think, and in the particular circumstances of this council at this time, there's very much a perception in the community that this council is unsympathetic to the community views and disconnected. And I think that's borne out by quite a lot of work that's been done in their community strategic plan consultations. I think it's absolutely important not only that we allow 5 minutes, but that we also tolerate the notion of a motion being moved to extend a speaker's time if necessary. Apart from people's inexperience, the issues that come before this council are often complex matrix of facts, and it requires some time to work through them on some occasions, and nobody wants to speak longer in public than they need to. So I think, and the other point I'd like to make is, in fact, this is a change. We've always had 5 minutes, with question and variously with or without questions being allowed. I think the appropriate thing now at this time is that we allow 5 minutes, which is just the status quo, that go up for public exhibition, and that 2 minutes or more of question time also be allowed each time a person has their say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Connor. Do I have any other councillors that would like to speak against it, the motion? Let's put it to a vote. So all those in favour of item C there, that item in the revised code of meeting practice that will be on display for public input, that item 4.13 is changed from 3 minutes to 5 minutes. All in favour of that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 votes. Those against? 2. Motion carried. Thank you. I'll just wait a moment. Good. The next item on the agenda is the councillor and staff interaction policy. Would anyone like to propose this? Thank you, Councillor Robinson. And second, Councillor McMichael won that one. And Councillor Robinson, would you like to speak?
No, thank you.
I will open it up. Would anyone like to speak for this? Would anyone like to speak against this? Let's put it to a vote. Those in favour? That's 11 votes to 0, carried unanimously. The last item on the 8th is the ordinary council meeting cycle for 2022. We are looking to go to the end of the current financial year through to June 2022. The dates are up there, the fourth Wednesday of every month, with 3 meetings in Armidale, and actually we do have one coming up here that's already locked in January, but upcoming after January we have 3 in Armidale and 2 in Guyra. We have a proposed commencement time of 4 p.m. Could I get a proposer? Councillor Galletley, thank you. A seconder? Councillor Robinson, thank you. Councillor Galletley, would you like to speak to the motion?
This isn't cast in concrete. I think we're better off sticking to what we've been doing, and I think it's working well so far, and I can't see any reason to change it for these meetings. So we go through there. We've got up until the end of the financial year pretty well, and then if we want to change it then, and we can pull it apart then and have a look at it then. But I'm very happy with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Galletley. Would anyone like to speak against the motion?
I think the seconder can move and actually speak for it as well.
Lovely. Let's hear what you have to say, Councillor Robinson.
Yeah. Thank you. No, I think this has in fact worked well, and I think we should continue this. 4 p.m. was chosen as a compromise between the people who wanted to allow people to work, who work during the day, so they can get off a little bit earlier in the evening, and still have time to come and talk to council if they need to. And at the same time, it was a compromise as far as people who have to travel, for example, to Guyra or out into the country, and they don't want to drive in the dark. And it's also a compromise as far as council is concerned, because some of us get very, very tired if you have long meetings and you're trying to have a discussion at say 8 o'clock at night and you've already had 3 or 4 hours of meetings. So I think that this was a good compromise, and we can probably have a future discussion later on. And the other thing to note is that we now, in our revised code of meeting practice, anybody can come in electronically. So that will help residents from all the outlying areas. They can sit on their computers and address council, and they can even sit on their computers at work and address council. And if they don't have a good computer and they live in Guyra, then we're hoping that the Armadale Library will be able to help them get into contact with council rather than having to drive into Armadale. And the same when we have meetings in Guyra, Armadale residents will be able to go into the Armadale Library, and instead of having to travel to Guyra, they can talk to council and have their say here. So it's probably a good compromise all around. So I commend it to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Robinson. We will now put it to a vote.
I haven't spoken again.
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
No, that's okay.
Councillor O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And again, I'm actually not wedded to this strongly, but I always feel, and it's always pushed to me from the community, that yes, it's wonderful these days that we are able to join in on the debate through Zoom and other means, but there are people who actually work 9 to 5 and actually wouldn't be able to do that. I'm concerned that there are 2 councillors here right now who have 9 to 5 jobs for a start, but I am concerned that people from the community, and I know that we've had debates in the past where they couldn't make it because they were working, and my I suppose default position is always to be that council has to be a democratic institution. It must always ensure that it is open as possible for everyone to join in when they can. And so my position has always been to have it after hours, and I do recognise this is a compromise, and you know I'm not going to cry if I don't get it, but I do feel compelled to ask once again if we can have it after hours. I probably haven't done the proper process here in doing that, but that's my position. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Any others that feel the need to speak for the motion? Councillor Packham?
Thank you. I actually wanted to
I'll speak to the motion.
I'll speak to the motion. I'm very happy with the last Wednesday, the 4th Wednesday of the month. I just wanted to be open that no matter what time of day we chose, we are going to prejudice some member of our community, which I think we just have to be open and honest that that's what's going to happen. I, for instance, believe that the after hours, the after school hour time slot prejudices many of the families of which we are here to represent in terms of after school care, homework supervision, meal preparation, extracurricular activities, and a lot of the families are prejudiced. I just want that on record, that it is prejudicing some member or some members of our community, and I want to be aware of that. So I'm not wedded to a time either. I will make myself available to represent my constituents at any time of the day. I prefer that the time of council is during council business, which is from 7 till 5, and I would like to see us conclude our business on behalf of council in that time and on behalf of the community during 7 to 5. I'm also happy to start at 4 if so the vote entail.
Thank you, Councillor Packham. We will put the motion to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 10 votes for. Those against, 1. I declare the motion carried. Thank you. I thank you, councillors. That brings to a close the first meeting of council, and I declare the meeting closed at 5 minutes past 5. Thank you.